Hello, pro wrestling fans. Joe Monroe here, and today is the very first. Should I say tonight is the very first episode of the Podcasters Appreciation Month. But before we get into to that and get with our guest, let's go ahead and mention some sponsors real quick. First sponsor I want to give a shout out to is always our longtime sponsor, Phenomenal Funds ATL. If you're looking for anything retro, whether it be wrestling, The Simpsons, anything 90s, early 2000s, things of that nature, go check out phenomenalfundsatl.com. Then I also like to thank our partners, Triple Crown Wrestling and Ultimate Championship Wrestling, for helping us with the show and bringing back professional wrestling the way it should be. And I also want to thank Les Murphy Painting. If you have any painting issues or any painting needs, contact Les Murphy at 734-334-3702. And as always, we want to thank Walrus Ward, Brandon T. Wilson, for being a walrus. Now, other than that, I am proud to say my very first guest is a good friend of mine, good friend of yours, and as a matter of fact, he runs Friends of the Squared Circle. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you, first time being on the Joe Monroe Show, Grander Q. Grant, what's up, man? How's it going?
I heard friends. It is your boy, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name, the host of Friends of the Squared Circle. Joe, how are you?
Busy.
Oh, I hear that.
So I want to, first, before we get into questions and into the grit of the Friends of the Squared Circle, hey, Crystal, how's it going? I want to say thank you because I know we talk almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just talking to you one day. I'm like, hey, wrestling from the 313 in the house. What's up, man? How's it going? I was thinking, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have not only you, but a few podcasters that we've been networking and talking with onto the show and just talk to them. And I'm like, you know what? The heck with it. I'm doing it the month of April. So thank you, because it was for that conversation. I kind of say it was kind of your idea too. That we're doing this. So yeah, that's going to be great. Speaking of wrestling from the 313, we're actually going to have them on Wednesday.
So I've heard of those guys.
Yeah, you've heard of those guys?
What's up, Mike D?
All right, man. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. You know, what's your what made you start it? That's always the first question. What made you start Friends of the
Squared Circle? I've got friends, pun intended, who had a podcast. I was able to go on. I really didn't talk much on the first one, and it was just kind of fun. I was like, this is maybe something that I could do on my own. It was only supposed to be a bi-monthly or bi-weekly little project, and it just snowballed into doing a weekly episodes. And I wanted the concept that a lot of people didn't have. Everybody does the predictions, everybody does the reviews and what's going on in WWE, but no one really interviews us, the fans, their perspective. We always hear about the wrestlers and their stories, but I wanted to dive into the fandom so that we could come on and brag and tell our stories, how we got into pro wrestling, what were our first memories or first live events. So I feel like it's a very interesting concept. It's the fan perspective. Yes, we have wrestlers on, but we don't dive into their careers because we don't want to steal someone else's content. We want someone else to interview them, talk about their career, because that could be their podcast. So that's kind of how it all came together, and it's just blown up over the last year. I remember struggling just to get a couple hundred followers, and now we're pushing for almost, 2,500. So it's been an amazing experience. And I get to meet everybody like Mike D, Mayhem Media, Stanley Kerr, as well as the Joe Monroe Show. I've met so many amazing people out there, and I can't wait to meet even more people. So.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of your show that I like. It's different. I think that's as podcasters and showrunners, that's what we strive for, just differentiate different shows, but we get to be friends in the process. So what year did you start Friends of the Squared Circle?
So it's only been going about a year and a few months. We just hit the 1 year anniversary a little bit ago. Almost 100 episodes. Again, it was just supposed to be bi-monthly, and now it's just turned into uh, weekly. And then, I had the spin-off show, which you've been on, Show Me the Collectibles, because we never got to that portion on the podcast because we would talk so long, and then I would forget about the collectibles, and then I'd be like, oh shoot, well, maybe next time. So now I have two currently running, Show Me the Collectibles and Friends of the Squared Circle, but Friends of the Squared Circle is the main focus of what we do, because we're trying to build that wrestling community and a positive place for people to go and talk about pro wrestling. So,
right. And with pro wrestling, we'll get into it. What made you start loving the sport of professional wrestling?
So I was invited by a neighborhood kid to come play Sega. Who doesn't love Sega, as I always say? And I didn't realize that the characters on the game had action figures, let alone that they were on TV. So for me, it was kind of learning it slowly and then realizing that it was actually on TV. I would go to the local Kmart, start reading magazines. While my mother was shopping, yes, in the 90s, you could just leave your kid alone in an aisle and just let him read, I guess, without getting kidnapped. And then I found out my uncles were into it when I started bringing over my action figures that I started getting as a kid. And, had they showed it to me sooner, I probably would have known more about it. But unfortunately, I didn't know that they were into it like I was until I started bringing the action figures around. So,
and it just grew from there.
yep.
I would say, because that's what happens with all of us.
Yeah, just turned into this whole big thing.
So you mentioned different content earlier. I'll ask, well, what's your goal? I mean, you hit the 1 year mark already. What's a goal you're kind of setting for yourself for your show?
So, well, this year it was just to break, 1,000, 1,500 in that first year, and we got there pretty quickly by just constantly networking. If you're doing anything, I can't stress enough the networking aspect of it. You have to rely on other people. Unfortunately, people think that, oh, I just want them to follow me. No, you got to go out there, follow them, and kind of work together to keep pushing your brands. So this year, I mean, I've hit my goal of, getting over, 1,000, 2,000. So now it's about the YouTube. I want to kind of focus on getting more episodes out. You know this pretty well. I've hit the UK, I've hit Germany, I've hit Belgium. Just recently got someone from Australia. Shout out to Izzy down there. And now I'm looking for Scotland. I'm looking for, France, not Germany, Japan, Mexico, anywhere that I can keep getting my face and my name is ultimately the goal. Even if it's just stickers going to these countries, I feel like I may never get there, but at least my face is there. So that's probably the goal, is just to keep reaching more countries outside of the US. So,
right. And we actually have another mutual friend of ours, Mayhem Media, show up. What's up, guys? What's
what
going
up,
on?
JD? Hope you're feeling better, brother. And I know I already said happy birthday, happy belated birthday again. He's another guy that I talk to almost every day, just like Mike D and you, everybody else. I blow up everybody's phone with all this wrestling stuff. So,
right. And Mayhem Media is going to be on the Joe Monroe Show April the 15th. So that's going to be another great episode. All these episodes are going to be great. What am I talking about?
Don't bring up CM Punk. He's going to kill me. Sorry, JD. You're starting to learn my personality.
Man, don't be that guy, Grander. What's wrong? But
stir in the pot.
let's go ahead and get into it. You love stirring the pot with other content.
I do love, I always say it's a drama-free place on my page, but once I become friends with you, I like to kid, I like to joke around, just like off episode. I told you this is my first podcast. I'm really nervous, just to catch you off guard, and you're like, what? You host your own podcast? I know, I'm there, I see it, so.
But that's the beauty of it, though, because in the wrestling locker room, I don't know if you've experienced it. I don't know if you have experience with it, but in the wrestling locker room, that's how we kind of get to know each other too, just by joking around and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
I like my. You go ahead.
That looks like we also have cards subject to change podcast on here.
Oh God, it's probably Leroy in that second place beard. You should ban him right now. Just hit the ban block.
Well, they're actually going to be on the show on April the 14th. So,
geez, you're really scrounging up talent, aren't you?
Hey,
bottom of the barrel.
Hey, come on now.
Now, they're actually the inspiration behind the whole Friends of the Sports Circle.
Really?
And that's one that I love to constantly pick on and promote on my page. Especially Leroy, happy birthday. That's an inside joke. I know you were watching their live the other night, and I told you to tell him that. So
happy birthday, yeah. I was like, what?
Is it really his birthday? No, it's just every time I see him, I say happy birthday.
You called him Frosty the Snowman there? I mean, come on. Every time he turns around, happy birthday. You ever remember that cartoon? Never mind. That was a bad joke. Terrible joke. I'm sorry.
It's your podcast. I'll let you sink.
Yeah, thanks. But, I was just on a recent episode of both Friends of the Squared Circle and Show Me the Collectibles. And we mentioned one of your favorite wrestlers, Gold Dust. Go ahead and tell that little story about meeting Gold Dust for everyone on the show.
Jeez. I don't mind meeting celebrities. Some people get freaked out. I'm just like, whatever. Like, I'm never going to see this person probably again in my life. And if I do, it's just randomly going to happen. But as a kid, I was just like so captivated by, his aura and his in-ring presence. And then when I finally got to meet him in Duluth, Minnesota there, I was getting his book signed. Luckily, my buddy Bob brought my book for me so I could get that signed. As you see behind me, I got a bunch of the biographies. That's my thing to collect. And just going up to him, I just shut down. I got all clammy and sweaty, and all I could do was tell the poor man that I was nervous like 9 times. Did you like the book? Yeah, I'm just really nervous. What was your favorite part? I'm just really nervous. Do you want me to sign it? I'm just really nervous. And he probably just thought, like, who the hell is this guy? Why is he here? I was so starstruck that I couldn't even get anything out except for I was nervous. And then when I walked away, I was like, man, that was the worst interaction ever. And my friends have not let me forget it. So that story will live on. It is now on the internet. So it stays there. So shout out to Dustin Rhodes if you're listening ever. I'm not nervous. I did enjoy the book. The second time I got to meet him, I was a little bit more cool, and then he asked me if I was nervous, and then I shut down again. I was like, we gotta go. Like, I don't want to repeat of what happened 6 years ago.
Well, we got to find that link so we can see that video, the I am nervous video. We got to find it now. I didn't know it was on YouTube.
No, just me saying I'm nervous, not the actual video there. Sorry.
Bob Brick said this isn't a lie. I was there. He was like a 3-year-old little kid.
Yep. And Bob brought an amazing chair, all painted up for Gold Dust. So Bob stole the spotlight. And then here comes this, clown me. But I do have a Gold Dust tattoo. I mean, he's right there. Huge fan of the Rhodes family. I loved Dusty as a kid as well. I love Cody. Cody's kind of, part of the crew, but I do enjoy Cody's work. Was a big fan when he first came out because Dustin was winding down in his career. So,
right. But yeah, with everything that's going on, especially with Cody, trying to finish the story, whether he'll do it this week or not. Have you seen anything that Dustin has put on there? Like USOB or F the Rock, stuff like that. That's what I like about Dustin Rhodes. So he's
not afraid to say what he wants on Twitter, and I know a lot of people have been blocked by him. So I just try to observe so I don't get blocked because I do idolize this man. And shout out to my buddy Nick. Nick has cosplayed as Gold Dust. I met him in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I think I found his page just by going through Gold Dust stuff. I've gotten multiple autographs from Nick, and again, with my sense of humor, I even asked Nick if they were real because he's met Dustin probably over 10 times, and he actually has been invited backstage a few times by Dustin to get a picture and talk. So he knows Nick. Like anytime Nick's at a show, he knows Nick by name. And I am not jealous, but I mean, I wish I was that cool. And I remember Nick broke the internet where he cosplayed as Baron Corbin one day, and Dustin made a tweet about it because he's done Gold Dust forever, and then he just does a Baron Corbin cosplay, and it like broke the internet. Like there's a whole like write up on WrestleZone.com about loyal fan, turns back on Dustin and stuff. It was just crazy how popular he got, and then he was on that WWE show Swerve when Gold Dust pied him in the face and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I want to be you. And I will have to say, this is swearing allowed.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure because this is my show. I brought up about how Nick is a lot like my buddy Bob. They meet everybody, and we know what Vince did, horrible crap. But Nick had said, well, has he met Vince McMahon? And I was like, well, no. And then he's like, well, he ain't got shit on me. And I was like, that's hilarious, Nick. You are a rock star. And I do have a cosplay autograph from him, and that's one of my favorite autographs that I had. So shout out to Nick. I know he's probably sick of me sending him my, constant videos and stuff to watch, but he's a great guy. He's tapped into the Oshkosh area, and he does a lot of fun stuff out that way. So,
but not only are you a fan of the major wrestling scene, you're also a big fan of the independent scene, as we know. You say earlier you're interviewing professional wrestlers around the world, but that you actually. Do you help your local independent wrestling scenes in Wisconsin? I know we talked about that just a little bit, but excuse me, just dropped a bomb in Wisconsin. Okay, somebody just put that. Pete King just said that.
Oh, what up, Pete? Yeah, he just made a major announcement. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything because apparently he couldn't tune in until he promoted his show or whatever. But yeah, I was very snooty.
But you've helped out a lot of local independent promotions too, right?
So I do go to a lot of the local stuff. I'm starting to get more, a foot in the door. It was never with the podcast to be one of the boys because I don't want to cross that threshold. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I want to be. I don't want to be behind the scenes. I just want to be there, set up my table, talk to the guys and gals and say, hey, this is what I do. If you're interested, come on. But like, I don't want to be the guy like, hey, can I ride in the car with you? No, like, I mean, as much as I would love that, I know my place. I know where I stand. It's just cool to go in there a few hours during setup. I don't want to kind of, overstep my boundaries. When I broke my back and stuff, I needed help with a table, and it was just wrestlers running around at that time, and the promoter was gone, and I was like, who can I ask to help me? Because I can't lift anything over 10 pounds right now. So I went to the bar and said, hey, I don't want to ask the wrestlers. Do you have like a dishwasher or a cook or somebody that can help me move these tables? Because I'm not about to ask the talent to help me move a table. And then I was telling the one guy the story. He's like, Cal, we know you. You can ask for help. I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be that guy because that's not why I do this. It's, just for me to go out and talk to more people about my podcast that my wife is sick of hearing about. So,
no, I know the feeling. My wife's probably sick about hearing mine too. So that don't feel bad.
We have each other.
That's all that matters. We got each other and our cats.
Right. Cat dads rule. Just ask Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. His cats get more and more famous by the day.
I'm finally in the cool club. Suck it, high school.
Yeah, everybody else, yeah. See, Pete King says you can go ahead and announce it.
So he is having the one and only, the most patriotic wrestler in the history of the planet, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, coming to their show. I believe it is in May. I want to make sure I'm not messing this up. I forgot to ask for the details. But USA. Oh! Hacksaw is a gem. I got to meet him, 15 years ago. Man, I've aged. He probably hasn't aged a day, but that's pretty big news. Pete's always bringing in, talent, TV talent, I should say. They just had Leva Bates, who is their current women's champion. Um, Funny side note, my good friend Oliver Williams joined the Mafia, folks. Kind of turned his back on Pete, and Pete got his bell rung, his bells, I should say. He's gonna hate me. He's never gonna invite me to his show again. Why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, Pete King says it's May 18th in
May 18th.
Wisconsin. I think I said that name right.
Augusta, Wisconsin. Yeah, we got the hardest names in the world. Sheboygan.
Dude, I'm from the South. Come on. Event is called Honor the Fallen. So
it's kind of funny because he fell when he got hit in the balls. Just saying, he's gonna send me a message. Don't ever talk about my show again.
Dude, come on now.
Yeah.
It seems like a patriotic event. So if y'all around that area, go check him out. May 18th. Mark it on the calendar.
But I won't be a vendor because I'm pissing off the promoter. So
now you got to pay him. But that is pretty cool, man. I'm happy to see more shows deal with local promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Help get local promotions put over. I know you don't interview the wrestlers per se, but I'm pretty sure. Do you take videos and stuff and post them later, or?
Yeah, I really, like I said, I just try to kind of stay, at my table. I'll interact with the guys and gals beforehand, but if they have people, I'm just gonna stay out of the way because, they're there to promote their brand, and I'm just, a local podcaster. I know my place, and I've said this on most recent episodes. Sometimes us podcasters think we know more than we know. We're just a super fan, and sometimes we got to dial it back. And I think to myself, like, how would it feel if I had someone coming over and, bugging me when I'm trying to talk to somebody who's generally possibly going to buy something? I don't sell anything. Everything at my table is always free, except for my custom tumblers that I have for my sponsor, Superior Creations. Check them out on Facebook. But, I don't really try to sell anything. I just, I know my place. I know my value. Yeah, I sell my hats, but it's just like, what do you want to pay for it? I had a dad come up. He's like, oh, I got $5. My kid really wants it. I'm like, go and take one, man. Take some DVDs. Here's some more stickers and suckers. I don't want to bring this shit home. Like, just, so for me, it's knowing my value and my place. I know the guys and the gals all know me because of being the sign guy or going to all the shows. But at the end of the day, I need to remember, stay at my table, let them do their thing. We're not best buddies yet, but, and I try to give back to them. Like, I bring, a tumbler or two here or stickers and stuff because it's my way of saying thank you. Like the summit, I gave them stickers, gave them my little 4x4, gave them an autograph, and they came back with a t-shirt. And I was like, whoa, guys, like, thank you. Like most people don't carry fat guy sizes, and they throw me a 4X. And I was like, well, crap. These guys are pretty sweet, just giving me a t-shirt within 10 seconds of meeting them. So, shout out to the summit, and I brought them some stickers and custom tumblers because that's me returning the favor because, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to give me a t-shirt,
Right.
So
you're the man of the people of Wisconsin. There you go. I'm dubbing you that on the show.
I would say it's I want to toot my own horn here. I'm going to honk. Being like the local sign guy, like, getting my signs ripped up because, I push buttons, obviously, like an elevator, and that's how people would know me. Like, hey, what did your sign say? And I was like, oh, it said this. And they're like, oh, it was really funny. I was like, well, thank you. So that was my way of interacting with the show. And, I brought in a 3-foot banner to rip on one of the wrestlers, and we made a whole thing where we all just called the Little Nate hate section, and he broke my whiteboard one night, and he was, and I was so mad because it was for the guys' match after his, and he came up to me and said, I'm really sorry, Cal, like, what do I owe you? I'm like, dude, like, that was the funniest crap ever. Like, my only complaint was it was for Mr. Kennedy when he came down, but hey, everybody thought it was hilarious, And I love showing that video where he just destroys my whiteboard, so.
Right. So it's just about being that super
Present.
fan that's in the crowd and just being
Yeah. And
kind of the man of the people. Kind of the man of the people at the same time. So that's
my
really
buddy Matt, he's brought it back. He's bringing signs. He got one ripped up at a local show. And as soon as that was in the air, he had the second one right up for the guy. And he's just like, and I'm just yelling across the thing. I'm like, I'm so proud of you, because, he's just right on it, so he always says he learned from the best, but he's just, pumping my ego.
So I kind of asked this already, what's kind of the plans for Friends of the Squared Circle? What do you want this to grow into?
So
on a personal level, what do you want to grow into?
One thing that me and the wife want to do is travel. So, jokingly I said, well, we can travel, get these cheap flights, go wherever. But you should bring your friends too, because like I want you to experience that with them. And, I want to see my friends, like Mike D in Detroit, Mayhem Media in Philadelphia. We talk like, me and Mike D might try to fly out there and get JD to a wrestling show. And then he'll get sick of us and never want to work with us again. But, it would be so cool if this podcast could take me to different states, set up the vendor table with, say, you or Mike D or JD, because I'm going to keep meeting the same fans by going to the same shows. That's why I try to, okay, let's go all to, Rugged Pro Wrestling in Iowa, or let's go down to, somewhere in Florida. I got connections down there. I got connections in Texas, so it would be very cool to take this podcast and just take a weekend trip, like down to you. And then we just set up a table and I got more eyes on me. It's the constant growing and the networking,
Right.
and hopefully you guys could come here so I could show you the Wisconsin, Minnesota scene. Because some of the greatest wrestlers came out of Minnesota. X-Pac,
Absolutely.
Mr. Perfect,
Road
Eric
Warriors.
Bischoff wasn't a wrestler, but he knows his stuff. Ric Flair was up here, the Gagnes, So like this is a hotbed and has always been a hotbed for pro wrestlers, so.
Now, sitting on the other side of the table, do you feel like there's been a resurgence of professional wrestling within the past 4 years?
Oh, I mean, being an indie guy, there's probably 25 promotions that I could name off just between me and Minneapolis and my hometown of Eau Claire. There's so much wrestling. There's so much out there. There's so many guys and gals hitting the road, getting out there. You hear like the Laney Lux, you hear about Sierra, and then there's, Blair Onyx. You got Rachel Ellering out of Minnesota as well. So there's so many men and women that you're trying to keep eyes on. And as for the indies, luckily a lot of the guys and gals are kind of in this circle, but they're also bringing their friends from other places that they've met. Pete King, example, he's been bringing people in now from Iowa. He's been talking to Aubrey Allen. I believe she's out of Missouri. Can't remember. Too many people. But like, just tagging the wrestlers, in different promotions. You should meet my friends, so that way like T Gaines or Nix, can get their name to a promoter up here. And then when I have them on my shows, by sending it to promoters too, it's like we're all getting in this little ball so we can keep growing, because like it would be cool to see somebody from Texas come to Wisconsin and then Wisconsin to Texas, so that we can find out the more names. It's just such a hotbed. It's crazy. I can't even keep track of all the names in my area.
No, I agree with you. It's the same here in Kentucky. It's a hotbed. You see a lot of people come from a lot of places. One wrestler in particular, he just popped in. Hey, James, how you doing? James Kendrick, great wrestler and a great friend of mine. He travels all over the place, Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee. And heck, I've done that. I've traveled between here and Kentucky Kentucky and Tennessee whenever I wrestled. So I definitely know how that is. But I feel like it's since COVID, I think wrestling's had a big resurgence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's great.
And then just to, touch on that briefly, they got the Bray Wyatt documentary out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give spoilers. I haven't watched it all yet, but like, just saying like the horror character, he has brought that to wrestling. So like you see these more characters that are influenced by him, and then Johnny Cash, he kind of got the video game thing, and you're seeing a lot more of that with the Comic Cons inviting those type of wrestlers. So like wrestling is everywhere. It's turning into more mainstream, from the Comic Cons to being on TV, the wrestlers doing movies. It's interwebs is so many, and it's, as a fan, it is so exciting because like Promotion A brings in Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Well, to compete with Promotion A, Promotion B is going to bring in Bret Hart. Like, First Wrestling, my favorite wrestling promotion, is bringing in Bret Hart, Alicia Fox. It's just like, hell yeah. And then Promotion C is like, well, I can't be outdone. I'm going to bring in, Dolph Ziggler, aka Nick Nemeth. Is that how you say it?
Or something like that.
Something like that. I'll know him as Dolph Ziggler forever. And then they're bringing in Malachi Black. So it's just like, oh, okay, let's go watch Swoggle's promotion now, because everybody's competing, but it's making it so great as the fans, because you're like, I want to go to A, I want to go to B, and I'm definitely going to go to C, And then after 2 months, you're like, look at all these wrestlers I've met. Look at all these friends I've made, because you're going to meet wrestling fans at shows like Nick, who's out in Oshkosh, who's like 5.5 hours away from me. Mm-hmm. But, we met through wrestling,
Right. And Mayhem brought up a good point, and this is kind of what I do. Indie promotions are starting to hire video people and recording / editing their shows and posting them on YouTube and other social media platforms. That is 100% true. I mean, heck, I do that, get clips of the shows and post it, plus the interviews I get to do backstage, because I work for the company too. So that's part of the deal. But it's awesome to see people kind of like me, you do that stuff as well. That just helps pro wrestling, I think, grow even more and more as time goes on. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say too, is like, the indie promotions are seeing, Pete, he can vouch for this. Like, he's been on my podcast, he's been on Indie Talk, like, so it's giving them another platform, which is free for them to use. That's no disrespect to us, but like, there's so many different podcasts out there that, these guys and gals can jump on to promote their product without having to pay for radio or television. They're able to share, and then they invite us to the show because some of us have larger followings than others. We're not Logan Paul yet, but like, if we start getting traction from getting fans from the wrestling show, eventually we're going to have a buzz around us. And it's so nice that they invite us to come in and do vendor tables. They allow us to talk to the wrestlers before the show. They allow us to, mingle behind the scenes. It's so crazy. And what JD's doing there at Mayhem Media, he touches on a lot of various topics, but what he's diving into more is movies and wrestling. And in the State of Pro Wrestling, he's been helping them with their live feeds and doing production, because ultimately he has a separate goal from me to get somewhere else. And it's so great that we stay in our lanes, but yet we work together, because ultimately we want to get, to where we want to be. And by, again, networking, it's so key. Don't be afraid to follow. Don't be afraid to promote other shows. They're not going to take away from you. They're only going to help you, and they're going to help you grow, because they're going to constantly, like you do, you share my stuff. JD shares my stuff. I've been slacking in that department. I apologize. But I try to showcase my friends, because I want to see them hit their goals. This isn't all about me. This is about everyone getting there. Mike D, he was scratching for 75 followers, and, now he's, flashing for 400, like, he's growing because he's taking this networking serious. He wants to get to that next level. He wants to get to a place where he can do this full time.
And a conversation like this is why I decided to do this.
Mm-hmm. And
because it's the kind of conversation we was having.
Yep, and you put everybody on there, and I went through and followed. And what did I say? The Joe Monroe Show sent me here because I didn't know who you were until he tagged you. It's very important to give props to those people, just like JD always says. Tell them Mayhem Media sent you. Tell them Crander Q sent you. You know, because you're letting the person that you're following know, hey, this person is shouting you out. That's why I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to do it. I love
Mhm.
it every time you guys do something like that, not only for myself, but for other people. Because, like, I didn't know who, we'll say, for example, I didn't know what Wrestling from the 313 was. I kind of
Mhm.
got the hint because I know where 313 is because I got family that lives in Detroit.
Mhm.
So I'm like, wow, there's someone that covers the 313 area. Sweet.
Yep.
Let me go follow them.
And he's going to bring more eyes to Detroit because
Yeah.
I don't think, this isn't a slam on him. Like, I don't think Detroit and I don't think wrestling, but he's going to bring that state and that city to a different level,
Oh, yeah.
and that's what I mean by staying in our own lanes. We're not doing it just because we have to, we're doing it because we want to be different. Whereas me, again, interviewing the fans, Mayhem Media, they touch on a various bunch of topics. Cruising with Kayfabe, they talk more about the Jericho cruise and everything going on with that. And then you have Honor Elite, they're focused just on AEW and the things that AEW is doing.
Right.
And Thomas Cummings, aka Hambone, aka the Drip God, he had a podcast on wrestling fashion. Like, I mean, there's so much content out there for wrestling fans. And Stanley Kerr, he talks about wrestlers giving back for charity. That's his show, and it's very interesting to hear those things because you don't hear about it. Like, I would have never thought about what does the wrestlers do to give back to their community, but now I know by listening to Wrestling with Heart.
Right. And that's beauty with different ones because a lot of people, the more that you're like, hey, Joe, you need to check these people out. Joe, check these people out.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were giving me all these names to be on here. Uh,
I just
yeah,
tagged
Chris,
a few, one or two.
just tagged a few. But no, because I've never experienced, and I've let you talk to some of my friends who I knew personally that has their own shows and stuff. Like Flynn Hendricks and Dustin James. Those two men have their own shows. I didn't know about it till a few months
Mm-hmm.
ago. But I love that I'm having Mike D come on this week, and I love I'm going to have Mayhem Media come on this week. All these different people coming on because we get to be friends and we get to sit here, we get to bull crap, talk about each other's shows most
Mm-hmm.
of. And Crystal brings up a good point. She thinks it's great that we're all working together. The reason I wanted to work with you all is because there's so many shows out there, and I'm going to harp for a second, but you all take it seriously. And
Oh, I
as
don't.
a and as a and as a fan, not only as a fan, but someone who actually works in the wrestling industry, that's what I look for. How serious are you?
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of you all are serious, and I want to say thank you for being serious because there is some shows that are kind of goofy, but that's what they do. But I like having the serious ones on here because I know deep down you all love professional wrestling
Mm-hmm.
just as much as I do. Just like you being so nervous you can't even talk to Dustin Rhodes for crying out loud. I'm not letting that down, dude. I'm sorry.
Dude, my buddy, he would bring up like I crashed Otis's mom's birthday at a local restaurant. Every time we go there, depending wherever we're standing, he's like, "Is this where it happened? Is this where Otis told you no?" I was like, "Shut up, dude. Let's go get wings. Like, just stop talking
JD,
about it." And then
JD brought
5 minutes later, is this where it happened? Is this where he told you no?
well, JD brought up a good point. He says you have to be a little serious if you want to succeed. I agree, JD, 100%.
And a lot of those podcasts that we have mentioned, like they have their foot on the gas pedal. And one thing that I will say, again, toot my horn, honk honk, is if I find a way to generate likes and follows, I don't keep those to myself.
Right.
You can, Mike D, he can vouch for me here. Every time I find something that works, hey, try this. This is what I'm doing. Lucky for me, I got a stupid catchphrase, let's be friends. It's super easy. I can go into these pages and just say, hey, I followed your page. Let's be friends. Let's talk on a future episode. If you're interested, boom, there's a follow. And then, if they want to be on, they'll message me. And spoiler, a lot of those people will follow me back, but they're just like, oh, I'm busy. I'll deal with that later.
Right.
So I'm getting the follow. And then the ones that are serious or are not as busy will say, hey, let's talk. And that's kind of how I met JD. He was just like, hey man, I see you got a podcast. I got a podcast. Let's talk about podcasts.
That's how me and you met.
And now he's stuck with me. He's just like, he's like, great. I got this fat guy with a beard. He doesn't shut up. Also he talks about. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't try to keep things to myself because again, I want everyone to succeed. When you I'm gonna bomb the name here. Oh, he's gonna kill me. But he posted on Pro Wrestling Bookings, hey, I'm trying to grow my YouTube following. Put your YouTube in the comments and I'll follow. And that thing blew up to almost, 300-400 comments because, people would go in there and follow each other. Granted, some people don't follow back, but, I probably have 150 subscriptions on YouTube to a bunch of channels that I don't get to see often, but I'm giving them the follow because it's like, hey, I'm trying to help you grow. Lucky for me, I got my Show Me the Collectibles, my personal page, and Friends of the Squared Circle. So you're going to get 3 right off the bat. You know what I mean? So, and then, I like to show you off to my loyal friends. JD comes through, Mike D comes through, you're coming through. Kay Conley, she's doing stuff on Wrestling Music, another podcast or page that has, something different to offer for wrestling. But like I have 5 to 6 loyal people that'll come in and follow after. So next thing you know, you just got 10 follows because Friends of the Squared Circle showed up. You know what I mean? And then, like I always tell you guys, if you need me to follow, write a review, or comment on something, or subscribe to something, just send it my way, and I'll say, hey, this is who told me to come follow. They're a big deal. Check them out,
Yeah, Mayhem Media says he wants us both under the flag, the Mayhem Media flag.
Well, if I get cold, can I have a blanket instead of a flag?
You know what? We'll talk.
I bet he is so sick of me. I know he hasn't been feeling well, and he's probably like, okay, I'll just be serious for 5 seconds.
Well, JD, I'll say this. I unlike Grander Q here, I'm a businessman. We'll talk. We'll talk. We'll hash it out. We'll talk.
And make sure you all give him a follow.
Yes, please.
I love doing his movie ones. He is in for a world of hurt if you're listening, JD. I've got over 4,000 movies.
He said, if you join me, we'll get you a customized comforter.
Maybe. I don't know if the dog will chew on it or not. But yeah, he has something special going on over there. He's got something different again, and if you like movies, check it out. He's got a episode coming up here. I don't know if I can spoil what it's about or not, but I know he's very excited for that. And again, I've been kind of a pain in the ass to him by making fun of it. So,
but that's what friends are for, right?
Yeah, I tried to warn him in the beginning, like, hey, I won't be like that with you. I just make fun of 13 cards, and now it's just like, oh, JD, ha 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 ha,
Well, so. JD said, in the words of Emperor Palpatine or Chancellor Palpatine, do it.
Oh, so April 8th, he is doing a podcast with one of our favorite referees in the business, Jana Pride. They're doing a Star Trek episode. I'm more of a Star Wars guy myself, but I've been helping him with some stuff, and I'll watch it because I just watched the 3 new ones, and it makes me want to kind of go back and watch. Are they from the 70s? I don't even know when they're from.
60s through the 70s.
Yeah, but 80s. I won't get as crazy as I did with the Planet of the Apes episode. I watched all 5 of the 9 movies. I started listening to a podcast. I was looking up YouTube clips. I got so invested in Planet of the Apes because that's one of my favorite franchises.
Into the abyss of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. I went too far into it, but hey, I was enjoying every minute of it, listening to people talk about it. So.
Well, let's go ahead and let's talk about other shows. We talked about Friends of the Squared Circle. Let's talk about your other show here. Show Me the Collectibles. Go ahead and tell the fine audience here what that's about.
So that is a show where you can show off all the things that you collect. It does not have to be wrestling related. In the beginning, it kind of started that way, but it could be books, it could be Funko Pops, it could be Star Wars, Ninja Turtles, and it also could be artwork. I just talked to a lady, still trying to, snag that fish. She collects skulls. I don't know why, but I'm like, I am intrigued. And she's like, I have animal skulls, I have a human skull, I have this. And I was like, we need to talk because that's creepy and weird, and I am interested. As well as Lego collectors. One thing I do is, like I've told everybody else, this is I'll go on TikTok because I'm bored in the middle of the night. Someone's doing a live, and I'll say, hey, you got a cool collection. Come on, show me the collectibles. And they're like, what is that? I was like, well, it's a silly podcast where you get to brag about your collectibles. And that's all it is. You basically just hold up stuff, and show it off. Like, I am a huge Lion King fan because that was my Frozen as a kid, and this is what my wife bought me. It's Pumbaa. That's right. That's my spirit animal. And, that's part of my collection, as well as, I am a huge Ninja Turtle fan. So, of course, I have to have the Funko Pops. So I've decided, because we're on this little tailspin here, is that I will get Funko Pops from the second. Or no, this is the. Oh my god, I'm going to sound like a complete idiot now.
Is that the TV series? Amen.
This is the second movie, the Oods, I believe, right?
Let me see.
Yeah, because the first one was just Shredder. So yes, this is the second movie. Huge Ninja Turtle fan, but I don't know what I'm talking about. And then, so for the third one, maybe I'll get the NECA figures, and then for the first one, I'm going to keep the original toys.
Godspeed on those original toys, by the way.
Yeah, those are. I hate that they're so expensive now. It's like, just give me the $5 figure that they were worth back in the day.
Right.
And JD can attest to this. I also love Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park, Planet of the Apes are the only, well, besides Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, are the movies that I bought them on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and I also have a laser disc. For all you kids at home, that's a huge disc that has 4 different ones that you have to literally get off the couch and switch and flip and watch a half hour and pull out, put number 2 in. A lot of work. I would have lost so much weight in the 60s, or not 60s, the 80s. And I'm obsessed with that movie. I got a bunch of Jurassic Park Funko Pops back there, as well as a $50 toy that I'm surprised my wife let me get.
I think that's the first Mayhem Media one that I watched. Mm-hmm. You guys were talking about Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah,
I watched that one, and my son was watching it with me. He's a big Jurassic Park fan. And JD wants to say that you blackballed him on that show, the Show Me the Collectibles show, and you still won't have him on. How dare you, sir?
It's because I got a dang the hook so he doesn't go anywhere. It's like that. What is that? The State Farm commercial? Oh, almost got it. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
He knows I love him. I'll get him on eventually when that gets running again here shortly. I've been focusing on the wrestling because that blew up over one little video, and
tell me about it. Mike D, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I can't wait to have you on day after tomorrow, so that's going to be great. Sorry again, I had to change the times on you guys. He said he's just harassing you. JD did, but I
my feelings. I'm sensitive.
Oh, good night, Irene. Come on. But I think it's kind of cool, man, that you're able to juggle 2 shows. I mean, that's I have a bit of a headache trying to run one show.
For a while there, it was super insane. Before our wedding, I was pumping out Show Me the Collectibles, Friends in the Squared Circle. Because you've seen my page. Every 2 hours, I've been trying to dial back because I feel like that was overwhelming for a while, because the interaction kind of died down when it was so much. But I've always got a new question up there. Sometimes I revisit some, but it's a lot of crowd participation. Like, I want to know what's going on in your head, and just like promoting other people, I'm like, hey, send me those wrestling posters because I'm a sucker for art, and doing photo editing and stuff. That's a goal of mine, is to create a wrestling poster for a promotion one day. But is I want to see those wrestling posters because then it gives you a chance to promote your shows. And I always ask people to tag the wrestling promotion so that I can give them a follow as well, so that I can continue to grab more friends. But every month I try to see, hey, what's going on? I want to see the wrestling posters. Who are you bringing in? You were able to just meet Scott Steiner, your last, little hurrah there. So, I mean, it's always interesting to see, what's going on in the indie scene. So.
Johnny Cass says, Crander Q, what up?
Yeah, he was at my local high school. I met him through the internet, folks. It's somewhat still safe. And I'm kind of bummed I wasn't able to go to that show because that's my hometown where he got to wrestle. And it's just kind of funny how we would have actually been able to meet versus just talking on camera, and I've done some edits for him. I know he likes them because he, used them. So, I mean, yeah.
Woo!
That's a guy you got to get on. When I first started talking to him, he was, got a lot of stuff going on, but now every day he's posting something like, I'm going here. I was like, man, you blew up, so it's kind of cool to see him out doing this thing, so.
Crystal said she's a good friend of mine. She's the one that does the photographies at the shows.
Oh, okay.
She says it is hard to do wrestling posters sometimes. So
yeah, and I kind of want to do one just to say that I did one. Cross that off the photo editing, goal list. It's not going to be anything extravagant. I call it copy and paste editing, but people like it. I'm constantly throwing stuff up on my personal page, which I'm sure you've seen now. So.
Oh yeah, and they're cool. I like the ones that you sent me like a month ago, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I did that. Really?" Crander Q is the man. Love you, brother. That's from Johnny Cass.
I'm working on it. I got a big thing coming for him. Hopefully he likes it because hopefully the idea transpires from here to That's one thing that I hate is that I can't get up here to come to fruition. Like everybody knows me here that I'm trying to put on a wrestling show at the local school that I work at, but it's just like I can't get that to stick. Like I have 1,000,001 ideas. I have a team of 15 to 20 people that will help me set this thing up, tear it down, clean up, and it's just like I just need 2 things to line up, and everybody's like, "Oh, that makes sense. That's great. That's great." It's just like now I just need this piece to fall in place. But the pandemic happened, so
it's one of those things you gotta kind of take back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I noticed that's just working backstage with the promoters. When it comes to stuff like that, you got to kind of take back. It's like, okay, what can I do to help get this, and get this?
So, it'll happen. That's a goal.
There's one goal. Also, when you make edits for me, leave your watermark /trademark /name on them, so you get credit, and in turn getting your platform over as well.
I don't know what he's talking about.
You don't know what he's talking about.
He gets mad because I won't put my name on it. I put his name on it. So.
Well, that's awful.
It's not about me. It's not about me. I could be a jerk and do that, but he's using it. He's using it. I'm excited. So.
Well, brother, we're about 55 minutes in. We're going to keep it about right here. I appreciate you again being on April Fool's Days out of all. Why did you choose today of all days?
Maybe it's a joke. I don't know.
Oh, well, thanks. But yeah, get out of here, you. All right. Well, I am dubbing you.
I will as soon as you tell me we're done.
As soon as you tell me. Well, I'm going to go ahead and dub you the man of the people in Wisconsin, just because you are a nice guy.
And Minnesota. I claim Minnesota.
Okay, and Minnesota, so you're good. I call it Minnesota. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My kids watching, what's that? Rio 24/7. It's stuck in my head forever now. But thank you again for being a part of this, being the very first one. Tomorrow we're going to have the people from MLW Confusion on, so that's going to be another great episode. And then the next day, we're going to have Mike D from Wrestling from the 313. And that will end this week's Podcasters Appreciation Month, and then we'll be back on Sunday. So, Crander, anything else you want to say to these fine folks before we head out?
What do I want to say? What do I want to say in it? I'm just going to say, if you want to be friends, check us out at Friends in Squared Circle on Facebook and YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on X. But our focus is Facebook. If you want to interact, show off what you got, come find us. We will love to promote you on there. I know we have a little bit bigger audience. I'm not trying to sound like an ass, but like if you want us to promote your stuff, help you get a couple follows, let us know because we want to help you reach your goals. And the last thing I got to say, I just thought of it now, how Mike D from Wrestling from the 313, I don't know if he planned that. Like, that's just so perfect, I don't know.
That was just, it rolled off the tongue, okay?
Yeah, he probably thought it out. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
All right. Well, brother, I appreciate you again coming on, folks. Thank you all for tuning in for the very first episode of the Podcasters Appreciation Month. This is Joe Monroe, and this has been Crander Q. Don't forget to go like, subscribe to all of Friends of Squared Circle social medias. And as always, folks, support professional wrestling.